We're getting serious now.
Look, we are
Jackets
professional podcasters. This is our life. This is our blood. We wake up every day and do this for you, the viewer.
It's true. We never take a break, especially not for 4 months. Hey!
If you think a single second has been spent not, pining over ways to make this podcast juicier, meatier, more fulfilling, a full course meal, then you're out of your damn mind.
He's right. And you know what else is right? The Brute Neighbors podcast, which we're back, everybody. Whoa, that was the worst segue I've ever done. Whee!
Season 2, baby.
Yeah. We definitely have always planned to do it in seasons. We were always planning on taking a break in between seasons. That was completely planned.
That's what professionals do. Which we are. So, we made it to a second season, so you could say.
It's true. We got renewed. The network said yes.
They tried, and we said, fuck you, network.
We already have more seasons than Firefly.
I can't wait for our Serenity.
Welcome back to the Brute Neighbors podcast, everybody. It's been a minute. I know we had some shit going on in our lives, technical problems. But we're back. We're going to do this thing again because it's fun, and we love all 7 of you who listen. So thanks for coming back.
I love Philip and his cute little face.
Aww.
Aww.
So, we are, as promised, we are back with the Star Wars episode.
This is it. The one that is going to end our friendship, allegedly. And completely ruin the podcast, allegedly.
I'm glad we did that as the start for our season 2.
It just makes
not as a finale.
Sense.
You gotta start the season off with some climax, something edgy.
Right.
know?
Get you all invested because, maybe you're like, I'll pick up Brute Neighbors after some time away. It's fine, it's whatever. And then this is it. This is the moment where you really see, oh, shoot, my life is not complete without these 2 straight white men telling me what to think.
It's true. That's, that's just how the world works, right?
Makes too much sense.
So, anyways, usually the format for our show, as you know, is we do 3 topics. That's out the window for this episode. This is special. This is just Star Wars. We're going to go through all the movies, hopefully, at least, here and there. I'm going to ramble about some of my favorite Extended Universe stuff that Seth doesn't know because he's a lame-o.
Yep.
And we're just going to go from there. We're going to see where the Force takes us.
Philip wouldn't even let me do a mystery topic. It was going to be the Christmas special.
We were not gonna wait. We were not gonna watch an hour and a half Christmas special.
We were gonna watch an hour and a half Christmas special in the break.
The thing is, I've seen the Christmas special. We can talk about the Christmas special.
I've not seen the Christmas special.
You should have watched it today.
Well, it'll come up. That'll be a future episode.
All right. So, where should we start, man?
I want to make clear, we are doing, main series plus Rogue One and Solo. Philip will talk about his extended universe stuff, and we'll touch around stuff. But this is primarily a review for main series, Skywalker Saga, plus Rogue One and Solo.
Yes. And I'll do my little side shit at the end.
Yeah, because Philip's lame.
I am.
So,
should we start with the cinematic masterpiece that is The Phantom Menace? Should we go through timeline order?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we start with, the reason why the Star Wars universe still exists today. Jar Jar Binks. And, the just incomparable contributions that great statesman has contributed to Star Wars lore and culture.
So, I want to first say, Phantom Menace is the worst Star Wars movie. Fight me.
That is objectively untrue.
We'll fight in a little bit, Seth.
Okay. Oh,
but, you gotta save it,
Fight now.
Gotta warm up first. Stretch out.
Okay. Continue.
So I will say, as far as Jar Jar goes, awful character. He's obnoxious as fuck. Racist, I think, is the general consensus too.
I feel like racist might be a fair criticism.
At the very least, tone deaf at best.
I will give that, yes.
Tone deaf at best. And I will say, all that said, I really like the Jar Jar Sith Lord theory.
That
would have been great. If that was true, that would have been amazing.
Agreed.
There was so much potential. Like, I could have forgiven all the dumb
honestly,
shit in Phantom Menace.
Rise of Skywalker would have been 10 times better if instead of Emperor Palpatine, it was Jar Jar Binks. I cannot tell you how much I genuinely believed that Jar Jar Binks was going to turn up at some point in Rise of Skywalker.
Honestly, that would have been so much better. Genuinely, like, honestly, that would have been... Because, like, the whole Palpatine is back shit, I hated.
Right.
It was so dumb. Jar Jar being back in the Sith Lord would have been dumb, but at least in a fun way. Right. At least that would have been like, well, I didn't think Disney would do that. All right.
You know what? We've already kind of screwed the pooch on this one. Why not, throw him a
Just
bone?
go for fucking broke, man.
But okay, Phantom Menace. I enjoy Phantom Menace. And, I mean, I will say part of that is, just sort of childhood nostalgia for it. But, look, it's not one of the best Star Wars movies. Not even close. But, I think there are some interesting ways in which, the Star Wars universe is converted to a different time period. I really enjoy the political drama and all the politics surrounding it, and especially that this was such a fascinating thing to watch during the final days of the Trump presidency and the fall of democracy, because there were some interesting parallels.
George Lucas, a man ahead of his time. Okay, so for me, the first half of Phantom Menace, I will say I actually don't mind the political stuff too much. I think it could have been handled better. Okay. But overall, I think the concept's fine. I think that can... Sure. And, the overall arc of the trilogy, and it's expanded on in the Clone Wars stuff, how the political stuff is kind of Palpatine's way of coming to power. I can rock with that.
Okay.
I don't think it's handled great, but, in Phantom Menace at least. But... I can rock with that. For me, it's everything else in the first hour of that movie is awful. It's a slog. When things actually start happening, Jar Jar immediately shows up, and it's just obnoxious and ruins the entire tone. There's literally they're in the trade negotiation sequence. There's this one edit where I think they were supposed to look like they were rushing off with the Force, but it just looks like an editing mistake as someone who edits. Mm-hmm. It's the most awkward edit I've ever seen. I'm that made the final cut? That's what you went with?
Honestly, I am willing to forgive Jar Jar's annoyingness because... And look, I am not the kind of person who's always okay, it's a family movie and that justifies just about anything. No. But, I can say, as a child, I thought he was funny. And, even though I find him annoying now, I can appreciate it looking back.
Here's the thing. I don't know if that argument works because, sure, I as a kid liked Jar Jar too. Mm-hmm. And as I grew up, I didn't anymore. Right. Here's the thing. When you look at the original trilogy, the comic relief was mostly C-3PO and R2-D2. I loved them as a kid, too, and I still love them now. You can do comedy geared for kids that is still at least bearable for everyone. Mm-hmm. There's a way to balance it, and they did not balance it.
And here is the other reason why I am able to forgive all of that, is I and this is an unpopular opinion, I actually find what they did with Jar Jar's storyline throughout the prequels to be like actually kind of compelling. The fact that they took him as this bumbling idiot, and he really does become something of like a Shakespearean like tragic device
being used
in which,
to bring Palpatine to power.
This comedic, this comic effect character is taken advantage of to completely break down the structures of civilization. And I thought that was actually one of the most compelling parts of the prequel trilogy.
I will say, I don't mind him in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, partly because they drastically, thank God, cut his screen time. But, that is a cool idea. I think, that's kind of the issue with the prequels as a whole, which I'm sure we'll cover more as we go. There's a lot of cool ideas there. It's the execution for me that is not great a good chunk of the time. And, honestly, I think Phantom Menace is the most guilty of that. A lot of people hate Attack of the Clones. We'll get into that in a minute. But I think Phantom Menace is worse than Attack of the Clones, personally. I think Attack of the Clones had some really not great stuff, but I think it at least kind of knew what it was trying for, at least. Except for the Anakin Padme romance.
Well, yeah, exactly. You kind of hit it on the head there. I have the opposite viewpoint, whereas, I thought there were interesting things in both, but I thought that Attack of the Clones just completely shat the bed on execution.
See, I like going back and rewatching it relatively recently, I kind of like most of Attack of the Clones except for everything with that, she's Paname. What? Anakin and Padme. That's her ship name. Paname. It's like anime, but with pans.
Ooh.
Spicy. I everything except for their romance, which admittedly is a very large chunk of that film. Detective Obi-Wan's cool. I like him going around solving mysteries. I like Detective Obi-Wan.
Detective Obi-Wan. Well, and I mean to get into that. I mean, Obi-Wan is the high point of the prequels.
Oh, he's the best thing in that trilogy, hands down.
Ewan McGregor is, of course, an incredible actor. And Obi-Wan was my favorite as a kid. He's still my favorite now. But I feel like this is a pretty popular sentiment. I really like Qui-Gon too. It's very unfortunate that he was only around for one movie.
I like Qui-Gon except for the fact that he introduced midichlorians, because I hate midichlorians. Because people, I know, you're either a midichlorian support defender or you're not.
For me, the existence of midichlorians, having midichlorians around to kind of provide this scientific basis to the Force.
But you don't need a scientific thing.
Well, no, I agree. But for me, kind of its existence versus its not existence is it's like the argument between is the bread and wine in communion symbolic or transubstantiated? To me, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It does what it does. And
see, for me, the reason I hate midichlorians is you took this concept of the Force as just being this presence, this all-encompassing thing that really anyone can kind of attune to if they put the patient... It's kind of like the monks and a general life force. Anyone can do it, but Jedi were just the monks who chose that lifestyle to really attune to it.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll blow up about Last Jedi later, but the thing I like about that is they tried to bring in back the idea that anyone can be a Jedi, anyone can use the Force, and I really like that idea. But midichlorians makes it sure, midichlorians are everywhere, but this kid has a bunch of them, so he's automatically the best. And it's that takes away the mysticism. That takes away the spiritual nature of it.
I can agree with that. Well, especially seeing, the Force as, religious, fluid, if you will.
No, I hate that term. No, religious fluid. Oh no.
And kind of it does throw in limits where there shouldn't necessarily be limits. I can understand that argument.
Mm-hmm. I just midichlorians are the most lore-breaking thing.
But what if I get in a hot tub that's very midichlorian rich, and then afterwards I can use a lightsaber?
Just do a shot of midichlorians. It's like
okay,
the Death Stick cellar in Attack of the Clones is actually the Death Sticks are filled with midichlorians.
How have they not done more with that? Because I feel like there's a very rich storyline there.
There's a show that goes into that a little bit.
Okay.
It's actually they're trying to work it in to the universe. Well, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. But I do appreciate they're at least trying to make midichlorians make sense. I hate that they're doubling down on it, but like at least they're trying to work it in as like it could be both. And it's like I don't really like that, but you already did the damage, so
sure.
But yeah, so a couple of the shows kind of talk about that.
Okay.
Because I know you haven't really watched a lot of the shows,
right.
They're trying. They're getting there. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, I guess that's quickly closing up Phantom Menace. We got to get rolling. But Darth Maul's really cool looking, but he is the most wasted thing.
Okay. Yeah. Agreed.
The soundtrack is great. Duel of the Fates is like the best Star Wars song after like the Imperial March.
Right.
And like the opening theme.
So, but quickly wrapping up, I am pro Phantom Menace.
I am anti. It is, in my opinion, it is the worst Star Wars film, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
There's a couple of stinkers.
Okay, so Attack of the Clones. You've touched on it that you think it's better than Phantom Menace.
I do think it's better than Phantom Menace.
For the longest time, I held Attack of the Clones as the worst movie, and I still think it's definitely in the bottom 3 for me. But my feelings have evolved, especially with the arrival of the sequels.
Yeah. I still think that there's only one sequel movie that I think is worse than Attack of the Clones. That said, I do agree that for me it is a bottom 3 film. Phantom Menace still being the worst in my opinion. But like there's some really cool stuff there. Like honestly, now that I've watched the Clone Wars too, the clone stuff's really cool. Like it has a lot of potential, and they do give you the building blocks in that movie. Detective Obi-Wan's really cool. I like the Battle of Geonosis. I know that's controversial. A lot of people don't like it. I kind of like it.
I feel like what I've heard is that the Battle of Geonosis is the only thing that people find cool about this movie. Yeah.
See, I've heard a lot of people hate on it because like the CG's a little wonky, which is fair, but it's like early 2000s.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
For me, the Battle of Geonosis, it really, that sticks around as like something. It's like something primal inside of me. Like watching it as a kid, the images from that battle have always stuck around in my mind and never gone away. And that puts a hold on me. That does, give me a little bit of sentiment for the movie.
Yeah, like there's some things I don't like about it. Like again, the Padme Anakin stuff, awful.
Sure.
I think Anakin going back to Tatooine and killing the Tusken Raiders could have been a really powerful moment. Again, good idea, bad execution.
Yeah, agreed. That was awful. I appreciated the inclusion of Uncle Owen and Aunt Aunt B.
I will say I don't understand. It's not even just Lucas anymore, because Disney did it too. We don't need to have every character from everything come back for each new thing.
I agree. I thought that it was I found it to be just nice.
Owen and Beru was more
Yes.
tasteful than honestly 3PO and R2 should not be in the prequels, especially C3PO. Honestly,
Okay.
They shouldn't.
Yeah.
They honestly just should not.
I
I can honestly maybe abide by R2 being an astromech and being a non-vocal character. I feel like you can get away with more.
right.
C3PO should not be there.
I can definitely accept them more in the prequels than in the sequels.
Sequels make sense. Leia and all them would
Well,
keep them
it
around.
makes sense that they're there, but I feel like they are horribly
They don't
wasted
do
in the
anything.
sequels.
Yeah. Every character's wasted in the sequels, with the exception
Touche.
of one. Well, no. By the end, they were wasted too. Never mind.
We'll get into that. But yeah, no. Other than me liking Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, everything having to do with Tatooine, I mean, I hate sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating. It's a meme
It's
now.
everywhere.
I actually wrote a short story once that I turned in for a grade in college that began with that line.
Oh God!
And it was
So you're gonna do a scripted reading next time.
one
We're
of
gonna read
my
through it.
proudest moments. I'm actually thinking about adapting that short story into a television pilot. So
Ah, beautiful. A feature film. A multi-series called Star Battles.
blockbuster franchise.
Sand versus King Kong.
Jeez. But I mean, all that considered, Hayden Christensen. Anakin sucks. Anakin is
Yeah.
terrible. He needs to go on some. I really do see the hints of him turning dark, and it doesn't. To me, there doesn't seem to ever be any question about that. I feel like he's
Yeah.
been on message boards since he was 12. Talking about how there are different things we can do with the Force. The people in charge are using the Force wrong.
Bush did Alderaan. Jet fuel can't melt steel planets.
That's actually, yes, that's the vibe. But that
that's
being
the-
said,
yeah.
Hayden Christensen is a much better actor, and I know we're talking about a kid actor, but I do find the kid actor for Anakin in Phantom Menace grating.
Yeah, I will say I don't get Lucas's fascination with showing us the baby versions
Right.
of every character from the other. We didn't need to see toddler fucking Anakin or
Right.
little baby Boba Fett. Show him as a teenager,
yeah.
sure, but
Absolutely, we did not need baby Boba Fett.
that was so needless, dude.
Right.
Made no sense. But yeah, I don't know. Attack of the Clones is. It's not good, but I think it does get more hate than it deserves. I honestly enjoyed the Death Stick salesman with Obi-Wan is one of my favorite scenes. You want to buy some Death Sticks? No, you don't want to buy. I don't want to buy Death Sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life. That's a great fucking scene.
I mean, we already touched on it, but Detective Obi-Wan is cool. I really appreciated him just going around the bars of Coruscant.
Yeah, just doing his thing.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, yeah, he's great. Definitely the best part of the movie. Dooku's fine, wasted but
Yeah.
fine. He's better than the Clone Wars show.
I mean that lightsaber battle between Yoda and Count Dooku is pretty rad.
I will say, Yoda flipping around is always goofy.
Yeah.
He does it more in Revenge of the Sith,
Right.
which we'll get to momentarily. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a lot of people's criticism is that it's almost weird seeing him use his lightsaber that much. Honestly, he should be more force heavy in a lot of people's opinion, and I kind of agree with that sentiment.
Right.
But yeah.
So I'm anti Attack of the Clones. That there are some things that I like, but not enough that are redeeming for me.
I'll say I'll give a neutral on Attack of the Clones. I think it's definitely still bad, but like I don't think it's that bad compared to like Phantom Menace and what I think is actually like it's the second worst Star Wars film, which we'll get to later. It's fine-ish, like not really, but like it's watchable.
So, Revenge of the Sith. I think it's great. I mean, watching it as an adult, I am able to recognize how much of the not great stuff from the prequels still heavily affects Revenge of the Sith, and that makes the watching not as great for me. But I still think overall it's a good movie. And
It's okay.
There's
Solid.
a lot of really great stuff in it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is Revenge of the Sith, I mean, far and away the best prequel movie.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely, it's the one where you can see, like, there were good ideas here that he was trying to build to. Like, there was good stuff here. It just, the execution was just not there. But, like, you still get great moments, like the tragedy of Pelagius. That's a great scene. I feel like it's been memeified now, but I think that one, as opposed to like the sand one, I feel like that one was kind of more memed out of love. Like this one is like actually kind of a good moment, but it's also very quotable.
Have you seen the Homer Simpson deep fake of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
I don't think I have.
It's worth the watch. I'd look it up if I were you.
Okay, I'll check it out. But yeah, like that's good. I think the battle where Mace Windu confronts Palpatine is pretty fucking dope.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an underrated battle, honestly.
I agree. Well,
Like, people always talk about Obi-Wan, Anakin.
It ends weird, but I still I hate what they did with Palpatine's face. Like, yeah, I mean, sure, he's disfigured in the sequels, but like that's kind of a symbol of the dark power and how it's ruined his body. And I mean, he's old as fuck in the sequel. I mean, in the originals, but like. To have him just like, oh, I was electrocuted and for whatever reason the only effect was I turned ugly and now I gotta wear this hood.
Lucas loves to over-explain shit.
Right.
You can leave some things to imagination. That's the sign of a good storyteller, is leaving some things to the imagination of the audience. And Lucas does not like doing that.
Agreed.
But yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. Honestly, I don't really have that much to say about Revenge of the Sith. Like, it's fine. There's some cool battles. I really don't like the Yoda Palpatine battle. Mm-hmm. I don't think that needed to be there, like, at all. That could have just been cut.
I liked it. I agree.
It's
It doesn't contribute anything. But
they're just
think
spinning around, like literally, like Palpatine does a fucking like barrel roll. It's like, what are you doing?
Well, I also think that was the point in the prequels where they were like, you know what, people have already made up their minds here, let's just kind of have fun. And I did have fun.
That's fair. I mean, because like, I mean, that's kind of my thing. I guess going to like, we should talk about the lightsaber battles in general. Mm-hmm. People, I'll be honest, I'm a defender of the original trilogy's battles. They're not as flashy. They're not as flashy, but there's a lot more emotion behind most of them, and like the fact that they are more based on like actual sword fighting and very like they are very slow, methodical battles, and like that's I think works for the kind of story that they were telling. Sure. There are some very cool battles, like yes, the prequels.
The prequels
are flashier.
Have the best, like the most aesthetic.
Yeah, visually they're better, but like I think from a cinematic and storytelling perspective, the battles in the original are better personally, but like they're definitely flashier and cooler looking. Like the Darth Maul battle is pretty cool in Phantom Menace. The Obi-Wan Anakin battle is you know too much flipping for my like, but it's still good.
General Grievous, very interesting character.
I did not like him until I watched the Clone Wars. Honestly,
Really? Okay.
he was the most. Oh, he was for me. He was the prequels Boba Fett for me because I don't like Boba Fett much either
Yeah.
because they just look cool and people are like, oh, they're so cool. And it's like
And then
he just looks cool.
You know, the cap to that trilogy would be Captain Phasma.
Yeah, and like she honestly didn't even look that cool to me.
Oh no, I agree.
She's kind of shiny. Yay.
Yeah, but yeah, General Grievous,
He looks
like,
cool.
yeah, he looks cool, and for me, like in my childhood games that like I would play either with friends or like just running around the backyard by myself. I thought the concept of like somebody who just had their brain and heart like saved and then put into a robot body, I thought that was a very interesting concept to play with.
Yeah, that's very fair. And like also the fact he was wielding like fucking like 4 lightsabers
yeah.
at a time, and he was like literally collecting these as trophies off of dead Jedi. Like that's a cool concept. Like I will say, I think he had more depth than Boba did in the original trilogy.
I agree. Yeah, I agree that Boba Fett's definitely overrated. I mean, I'm gonna say this, and this might actually be true, and it might, not be and get people angry, but he was a ploy to sell toys. That's what
100%.
Boba Fett was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can say that about a lot of the stuff in
Touche.
pretty much everything after the original.
Right.
But yeah, he's just kind of there. Grievous. I know you haven't watched Clone Wars. He's pretty cool in Clone Wars too. Kicks some ass. But yeah, honestly, like Revenge of the Sith is fine. It's definitely a step up from the first two, and I will say I think that's part of why people cling on to it so much is purely because of comparison. Like in
Right.
comparison, yeah, it's a lot better than the ones before it. But like, it's still not amazing. Like it's a fun romp.
Right.
It's a good time.
I'm pro
But
Revenge of the Sith.
I'll say I'm pro. It's not my favorite, but like, I'd say I'm pro.
Okay. So next is Solo.
Oh yeah, I guess it is in the timeline.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have mixed thoughts.
For me, my feelings on Solo, that was a fun romp. Like, I'm definitely not anti it. It's certainly not one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I'd probably put Revenge of the Sith over it.
I can agree to that.
But it's fine for what it is. It definitely gives a different side of the Star Wars universe that I think still really works and is really cool to see.
I think the biggest thing about Solo is that it just didn't really add anything.
Yeah, I agree.
It just kind of exists. And like that's not necessarily a bad thing, but like when you treat up to that point they treat Star Wars as this event. It's this big thing. And then this is just a fun little like Han Solo's going around robbing trains and fighting off his old mentor or whatever.
Solo is I mean just sort of the same category of the sequels in the sense of it doesn't exist because somebody had a cool story for it. It exists because they were like new Star Wars movie specifically new Han-centered new Star Wars movie.
Yeah. It has some fun moments. It definitely I blamed Lucas for over-explaining things. This one really over-explained some things.
Right.
Like, to a sin. Like, literally, it's near the beginning. There's a scene where, like, Han is leaving the planet, and he's, like checking out through, like, the terminal or whatever, and the guy's like, oh, well, all right, your first name's Han. What's your last name? He's like, oh, I don't have one. And the guy literally goes, oh, well, you're by yourself. I'll just put you down as Han Solo.
Yeah.
Why the fuck did you have to explain his fucking name? And there's a couple other smaller moments like that. Like, I didn't mind it nearly as much, but they because there's always been this Star Wars thing where parsecs is actually a unit of distance and not time. So people were always gave shit to the 12-second spice run or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they ended up explaining how we went through a black hole or some shit. It's I mean, sure.
That really that wasn't something I picked up in my previous watchings, but watching it all together, I was able to notice how they really referenced that a lot, and then I was I didn't need to see it because quite frankly, it seemed a lot more lame than when you told it in the story.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel that almost added to his character in the original stuff. He's making this big boast,
right?
But it's not even a real thing. It's not even in time. So it's it's just plays into how full of himself he is and how he'll bend the truth a little to seem cooler. But he's a scoundrel with a heart of gold. But unfortunately, even Lucas, but Disney too, is let's forget the scoundrel part, just heart of gold.
Right.
It's that's not the character.
Yeah.
That was never the character.
I really appreciated the fact that he actually shot Woody Harrelson. That was nice. That was fun.
And I will say, Donald Glover as Lando, a young Lando, was perfect casting.
They could not have gotten better casting.
Oh yeah, he nailed it. But yeah, I mean, Solo's fine. It's. Right. I really don't have that much else to say about it. There's some things it's that you didn't need to do that, but overall, like you said, it's just kind of a fun little Star Wars romp. It's it doesn't harm anything, but also doesn't really add anything. Right. And I think that's probably my biggest complaint. A lot of people's biggest complaint is the fact that in this universe that is so set on lore, that just kind of nothing happens. It's just kind of there, and it's it was fun. It was okay.
I'm meh, trending pro, but meh on Solo.
I think that's about where I stand. I'll say pro, but it's a mild pro.
Right.
Not a spicy pro. It's not Diablo pro.
A subdued pro.
A nice subtle pro.
Ah, yes. Honey barbecue.
But yeah, Solo's fine.
Rogue One.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. Rogue One is. I can't say if I have a favorite Star Wars movie, but Rogue One is definitely, without a doubt, top 3 for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I don't know how public sentiment would be about that, but for me, I think so much hits in this movie, very little does not hit for me. They're able to lead into the original trilogy in a way that, it does explain a lot of things, but the explaining never feels gratuitous. It feels like there's an actual story being told there, and those things actually, contribute to the building of that story.
I can definitely see that. It's definitely not top 3 for me. I can say... Well, it's maybe not my 4th favorite. I can admit that on an objective level, it's probably the 4th best Star Wars movie. Okay. There's another movie that we'll fight over later. I would say it's probably my 4th favorite.
Disgusting.
But I know. Fuck you too. Love you. But on an objective level, I can admit that Rogue One is the better film than the film we'll fight over later. So, I can't agree with the top 3 just because, in my mind, the original trilogy is untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's mixed opinions on oh Jesus, there's so many fucking titles.
I-
Return
I-
of the Jedi.
yeah.
But like I like Return of the Jedi. It has some flaws, but like I think it's top 3 still. But
I love Return of the Jedi too. I think there is not a single weakness in the original trilogy. Well, I mean there are weaknesses, but like
mild ones
Right.
in each one, not like
right.
giant glaring flaws of film like
Right.
some of them.
But I mean, and again, I tried to do a full ranking of all the movies, and I just could not do it.
Oh, I can.
I got to a point where I was like, I feel like my feelings on each one just shift around depending on how I'm feeling that day. But Rogue
I can
One,
give a ranking.
Rogue One is definitely in my top 3.
That's fair. It's good. I don't have too much to say for it. I will say, I forget the name of the droid. The droid is good.
Yeah.
I really like the droid. I will say,
I don't remember his name. I remember he's voiced by Alan Tudyk.
I love Alan Tudyk. I really like that character. A lot of people fucking loved him, and that's fair. He's really good.
Mm-hmm.
My only thing is that he's like the PG, like kind of toned down version of a character in Knights of the Old Republic, which is my favorite Star Wars thing ever, which I will gush over towards the end of this episode, called HK-47. And he's still good, but he just feels like kind of a toned down version of that character, in my opinion. But he's still really good in his own right.
Right.
So it's not me bashing him, don't get me wrong. But
The one thing I will say, and this is not an actual criticism of the movie, and I think the girl who plays Jin, I think she's fantastic. She's great, but I was turned off when the movie first came out because it was in a time period where every single sci-fi movie, and particularly every single dystopian sci-fi movie, for a stretch of like 4 years, was the same scrawny brunette British girl. And Rey is another example of that.
yeah.
And you know, a number of those characters are great. A number of those movies are great. And I mean, obviously I shouldn't be complaining because Lord knows we've had too many scrawny white boys. But
I will say that is something that the Star Wars films have kind of always struggled with is diversity.
yeah.
Like, we've still not had a black lead.
Oh, so
Finn is not the lead. Finn is
yeah.
he should have been,
he should have been, but
but he was not.
I mean,
Yeah.
every
There's a
single
lot-
movie,
yeah.
I've got to say, we'll get to this later.
We'll get
but
to
we
it.
will
We're
get to
getting there.
this
We'll
later.
keep plowing through it.
Finn is objectively the best of the main cast of the sequel trilogy.
We'll get to it. I have thoughts.
Okay.
I have thoughts. We'll get to the sequel trilogy. It's a whole other bag of worms. Not even a can. It's a bag. It's a
Yes.
big old bag.
Agreed.
But yeah, Rogue One's good. I'm pro Rogue One.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. Like, it's just a fun time. It has a really fucking badass Darth Vader scene. That's dope.
Oh yeah.
Seeing him wreck shit.
I will say, you know, we're trying. The movie was trying to, you know, give something to the fans. It was a touching tribute, but I really could have done without CGI Moff Tarkin.
Okay, I'll be honest. I don't mind the CGIing of actors when it's done tastefully.
Right.
I
Well,
think
and
Tarkin was done tastefully.
I can vibe with it when it's especially just like cameos.
And he was like, he needed to be there for like timeline wise. Like, it made
Right.
sense.
Right.
I mean, they could have just recasted him. I'm okay with
Well,
that
no,
too. I
and-
don't like how
and, well, I
people
don't
are
think they
versed at
even-
recasting.
I don't think they even needed to recast him. They could have just they could have just, you know, referenced this guy higher up's on our ass.
I'm a show don't tell kind of guy when it comes to film. I don't mind CGI Tarkin. I understand the criticism and being wary because I can see how that can get bad.
Right.
But I think Tarkin is a good example of it done right, in my opinion.
Okay. Gotcha. But and obviously the last couple minutes are
Pretty
just
amazing.
One of the best scenes in Star Wars.
I'm okay with saying that. It's pretty,
Yeah.
at least like on a badassery level.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm pro
Rogue
Rogue One. Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah. Right. A New Hope.
The one that started it all, like literally, like
I mean,
none of this
we
would exist
shouldn't
without
even-
A New Hope.
Shouldn't even be calling it A New Hope. It's Star
It's
Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah, A New Hope was added later when they're like, oh shit, people like this. I guess we need to make more.
When I was a kid, I legitimately believed that they were released with the branding of Episode 4, Episode 5, Episode 6 before the.
I did a little bit
trilogy
of it
came
too
out.
until my mom was like, no, you're an idiot. What?
Right.
No, that's not how that works. I was like, man, they really thought ahead.
I mean, it's what to say about A New Hope? It's
great.
It's
I will
great.
say because I've now shown a few people who have never seen Star Wars before, and you always start with original trilogy. Never show someone who's watching for the first time the prequel trilogy. That is, I can't abide by that. You got to start with the originals. You got to.
yeah. I agree with that.
And some of them, like most of the time, it's like, yeah, I liked it, but like there were some slow moments, and like there are some pacing things where like I can
Right.
kind of see where like if you're a first time viewer, you didn't grow up with this. It's like I can see how you could think it drags a little bit, but honestly, I appreciate those longer moments of just seeing the world and seeing like they spent a lot of time in that cantina, and I think that's cool. I like that they kind of just hunker down there for a minute and figure out what's going on.
Well, and the cantina, I feel like, just works. The cantina is I don't feel like there's ever a moment in there that's wasted. I thought it was interesting remembering that, you know, Chewie just shows up. He's just sitting at a table, one cut, and you're just like, hey, he's part of the main cast now. I'm like, right.
Yep. It's so like just fun. That's a fun movie, and it has like its serious moments, like the fact like they burn Uncle Ben or not Uncle Owen and Beru, and he sees their fucking corpses burning, and he's like, well, fuck.
Right.
All right, I guess I'll go with you, crazy old man. Show me about that space wizard shit.
Metal AF. It's very. It does kind of make me sad to think watching that movie and thinking about, wow, how different everything is presented in this movie than the overall timeline eventually, unravels to be. And part of that makes me sad that, like, we didn't get to adequately represent a number of those concepts that are discussed in the original. But overall, I mean, of all of the things to discuss with Star Wars, I tend to not have any issues with the timeline. I in general, really
There's
do.
definitely some crunching where it's like,
Yeah.
there's some stretches.
Right,
Like
right.
the fact that the Empire really only existed for, 20 years?
Right.
It's like,
It was-
I mean, sure.
Right.
But, I don't know, it is what it is.
Sure.
It's about space wizards. I can deal with some timeline fudging.
Right.
But yeah, New Hope is great. It's my second favorite. Of the whole thing.
I would probably see. I like Rogue One so much that it's just about on equal footing with A New Hope. I think it's just below A New Hope. A New Hope still beats it out. But
I feel like A New Hope also just has the edge for the fact that it started it all, you know? Like, it gave us such a rich lore from the get-go that people wanted to see all these other movies and books and games. And, like, from this one, 2-hour movie maybe? Is it even 2 hours? I don't even know.
Yeah, I
don't even think it's 2 hours. But this maybe 2-ish hour film became a worldwide phenomenon that has had hundreds of books and games and shows and movies and, like, all this shit. Like, that's all of this one movie that people didn't think was going to be... Like, no one wanted to make it. Lucas was like, I just think it's cool. Let me make it, guys. And they were like, fine, whatever, Lucas. Just do it. It's going to be a trashy B-science film. We'll get a couple of weirdo fans and we'll call it a day. And it became a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And, like, that's amazing.
One of the most impactful, if not the most impactful franchises in history.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%. One of the highest grossing. It's, almost won an Oscar. Got beat by Annie Hall for Best Picture.
Right.
I mean, Annie Hall's good, but Star Wars should have won.
And it came out on my birthday. So,
Well, there you go. But yeah, it's great. I don't think there's anything really else to say about it. Definitely pro. 100%. 1,000%.
Also definitely pro. Now on to the movie that I again, I don't think I could make a ranking, but I think Empire Strikes Back would be my number one.
Oh yeah, same. Empire is, like, almost universally acclaimed to be the best one.
Right.
And for good reason. It is the one that really showed the potential of where it could go, and that the story could be deeper and have, like, this conflict and have twists and turns that you give a shit about. And, like, really made you fall in love with these. Like, you loved them in the first one, but it was a fun romp to save the princess. This was something more.
In this movie, you knew the characters, you were emotionally invested into the characters and their lives, and it brings it to a whole nother level.
Oh yeah, and also the fact that, I mean, they were so confident they were going to get another movie. They end on a cliffhanger,
right.
kind of literally,
and a very large cliffhanger at that.
Oh yeah,
well, I mean,
like they're
like a universal definition for cliffhanger now.
Yeah, between you have that at the time wild plot twist that the villain is the protagonist's dad. Whoa. And then, like, one of your main characters is frozen and shipped off, not to be seen. Like, it doesn't end on a happy note like the first one. It ends on a very, well, fuck, now what?
The Empire really does strike back.
Whoa, they should have called the movie that. That would have been really clever.
I don't know. See, just say what the movie is on its face. That seems kind of basic.
What kind of new naming convention would that be? They definitely wouldn't do that for every fucking movie. It's...
Hoth is one of my favorite planets. Just super cool.
Because it's frozen.
Ha.
Dude, the fucking... What is it called? Is it the Wampa that's the giant snow creature? I fucking love the little, like, the... Oh, man, like a Yeti sort of aesthetic, and, like, I love that shit. And, like, it's such a cool moment. And, like, seeing Luke almost die in the first, like, 15, maybe 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Crawling into the Tauntaun is...
oh, yeah. It's so good. Well, like, every beat hits.
That's such, like... That feels like it should be such an insignificant scene, but it isn't. You're actually invested on whether or not Luke freezes to death by climbing inside this animal.
It's so good. And, like, you see that how, like, Han and Luke's friendship has grown. That Han's willing to risk his life for this kid that he like now has known for a while, but like originally was very dismissive of. But now he's like they have a brotherhood. They have a bond.
Luke kisses his sister.
He doesn't know that yet.
He doesn't.
It's still incest, but it's ignorant incest.
The writers knew by that point. They knew what they were going to be doing.
Well, see, there's a lot of speculation. Like, people don't know if Lucas knew yet if he was going to have that twist yet, apparently. I don't know if Lucas has ever confirmed it or not.
I
would hope.
I would find it... I mean, I can buy that. I can. But I find it difficult that it wasn't at least, like... They were pretty sure by that point.
Yeah. Who knows? But, it's an interesting talking point, to say the least. It's been talked about to death. Like, there's nothing else we can really add on that, but it's like... that happened.
Okay, I have some interesting original discourse on this incest.
I'll roll tide to that. I'm from Alabama, I can make those jokes. So anyways, Empire Strikes Back is great. It's my favorite, hands down. That is just like such great storytelling, such a climax. That Lando's betrayal is like...
Oh, yeah.
The fact, they nailed Lando's character of making him both an asshole, but also you like him, but like he betrays everybody. But then you also love him again by the end of the next movie.
And I mean, this is some of Darth Vader at his most interesting. The scene where they just open up the dining room and there's Darth Vader just chilling.
It's so good. And he shoots him. He just fucking absorbs the laser bolt in his fucking palm. And isn't that also where isn't Empire where there's that one scene where like the officer comes in and he's in that little egg and we see like the clip of his like real face, like we get a glimpse of it. Isn't that Empire?
I think that's Empire.
That's a cool little scene. And then, yeah, he's just so good. It's beautiful film. It is my favorite Star Wars movie, hands down.
Do we see Palpatine in Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, I think because they have a Skype call at one point, and Emperor Palpatine's like, "Hey, he's very powerful. You know what you must do. You must either kill him or make him join us."
Right.
Yeah, they have a Zoom call.
Wow. Star Wars predicting the future.
Well,
I remember a few years ago thinking about how, wow, all these sci-fi movies really thought video calls were gonna take off. How stupid was that?
It's almost like that's what we're doing right now. Wacky. But yeah, 100% pro Empire. It's amazing.
Yeah. Also incredibly pro Empire. Pro Empire Strikes Back, that is.
You heard it here first. Seth is a fascist.
Correct.
So yeah,
Die,
I
rebel
guess...
scum.
Oh God, I am a rebel, so I rebel.
Gross.
Not a great line.
No.
An otherwise good movie, not a good line.
Return
yeah,
to
so
the
I
Jedi.
guess this one is I guess most controversial of the original trilogy, but like I think most people still at least like it.
So it is pretty much universally agreed upon as the, I don't want to say weakest, but least
Comparatively.
of the original trilogy.
And like I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But like it's still a damn good movie.
I agree. I when watching it, I had very little critiques for it.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any weaknesses that it has that any of the others don't have. I mean, it brings all of our characters full circle. We find out that Luke and Leia had incest in the last movie.
Does it count as incest if it's just a kiss? Like, is that just or incestuous like light? Is it like diet incest?
Well, I think it's well, I don't know what like the technical definition is of incest.
It's like, do they have to do the do, or like can
right. But I would say that the fact that the kiss was overtly romantic or
see, but
sexual.
even then, like Luke obviously was like, yeah, that was nice, but like Leia did it just kind of to spite Han.
Well, okay, no, not romantic or sexual, but passionate.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyways, not really relevant.
What are your thoughts on the Ewoks? Because that's the thing that people seem to be split on.
I love the Ewoks. I
think they're fine.
No criticism for the Ewoks.
Like, they're a little goofy, but also, like, I think it's fine. It's literally... And, like, people complain, like, how did they beat these stormtroopers? Like, I mean, they're not used to fighting in these conditions.
Have you never heard of guerrilla warfare?
I mean, yeah, almost literally,
it's an allegory for Vietnam. Read my essay coming out next week.
We're going to read it on the podcast. Get ready. I'm ready for your thesis, Seth. But yeah, I enjoy. I think it's a good wrap up. Like, obviously, the climax film is almost always going to be better than the wrap up film. It's hard to end a story on this scale.
Agreed.
That said, I think it did a damn good job of doing it. I think it, like, of course, Empire is going to be more beloved. That's where all the shit happens. Mm-hmm. But there's still a lot of good stuff in Return of the Jedi. And it wraps everything up nicely. There's a happy ending that's, completely negated by Rise of Skywalker, but it's fine. It's not fine. I'll bash that movie soon. We're almost there. But, yeah, it's nice. And, like, Jabba's Palace, that whole sequence is amazing. I love the Jabba's Palace sequence.
Yeah. I can take or leave the Sarlacc pit. It's fine.
I like it. It's a fun concept.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, other than that, Jabba's Palace is a very interesting part of the story.
Yeah. It's a good movie. I enjoy it. I don't really get... But, like, honestly, I feel like most people that hate it are literally just, like, comparing it to the first two. Like, yes, it's not quite as good as the first two, but it's still very good.
And Luke showing up in his black robes with this new lightsaber is pretty badass.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really have much else to say. I'm pro Return of the Jedi.
Right. I am also pro Return of the Jedi. Force Awakens, baby.
Oh man, you mean A New Hope remastered?
See, I mean, I can see the parallels, but for
it's the same movie.
For me, that I don't really that doesn't bother me. I do not think that it is like they definitely do take a lot of parallels, but I do not think that it is enough that it really does like.
They played it safe.
They did play it safe.
And Star Wars is all like literally from the first movie is all about taking risks, and like even the prequels, as bad as a lot of them were, Lucas just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want."
Well,
he took risks.
I can agree with all that, and
The Force Awakens did not.
Yeah, I agree. I remember I enjoyed Force Awakens a lot more on opening night. I remember walking away from opening night being like, this is 8 out of 10. Legopolis level position. And upon rewatch, it definitely didn't hold up for me.
Like, I don't think it's like awful.
No.
But it's just kind of, in retrospect, boring. Like, it just doesn't do much new.
I don't know whether or not I would put it above or below Phantom Menace. I definitely put Force Awakens below Revenge of the Sith.
They're about equal for me, I think. Maybe Revenge might be slightly higher, just because at least it was trying something.
Yeah.
Force Awakens, like, And the only things that I really liked in this trilogy consistently were Kylo Ren. I liked Kylo Ren like throughout.
Yeah,
I think he had a really good setup.
I agree. I really like Kylo Ren. I really liked Kylo Ren in Force Awakens. Everyone else was complaining about how he was just whiny, but I thought
It's kind of the point.
It's kind of the point, but I also I don't think it's done very terribly either. Like I think it's effective.
Yeah. Like Kylo Ren is like basically the inverse of Anakin and also Anakin done right.
Right.
Like that's how they should have handled Anakin. Like really struggling with these feelings, and like it's really cool that he was struggling with being evil. Like that's
So
an interesting concept.
So Anakin is like early 2000s message board guy, and Kylo Ren is late 2010s message board.
God.
On that same message board.
Jesus. But yeah, I don't know. Force Awakens is just kind of there. It exists. It could have been a really good setup, and maybe, but even then, really the only thing I cared about from Force Awakens is Kylo Ren. Like there was some cool stuff with Finn, but Finn was wasted as fuck. Poe was wasted as fuck.
Right. I was so upset about what they did with C-3PO and R2-D2. I thought, I get that they're just kind of there for a cameo, but since they're just there for a cameo, they really
They shouldn't have been there.
They plugged them so much. And
They must have toys.
What was up with C-3PO's arm being red?
They never explained.
They never explained it.
One of the TV shows will explain it, I'm sure, because they're just playing catch up now with the TV shows.
I didn't like this. This is probably my least favorite thing about the movie. I didn't like that it felt like a gimmicky J.J. Abrams movie. And I like J.J. Abrams. I think he's a great director. I think he's got some interesting stories. But, it felt like, overly goofy, like a Marvel movie at its cheesiest.
Yep.
And I did
JJ,
not appreciate that.
I used to really like JJ, but the more of his stuff I've seen, he just does kind of the same stuff. It's the same quips. It's the same feel, and it's like he just makes the same thing over and over again.
Well, and that's kind of how I felt with Moana. Whereas I really like Moana, but it just felt like Lin-Manuel Miranda just romp. And I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. I love.
Oh man, we haven't talked about him in a while.
As we've gone over, unlike Philip.
I know he's man. I don't remember all the insults I hurled at that man.
But
that was a different time.
Like when somebody limits themselves to that sort of those limitations, I guess.
Yeah.
It severely hurts the movie.
I agree. And yeah, I'm kind of neutral towards Force Awakens. It's there.
I still would say, I don't know. My feelings on the sequel trilogy are just kind of thrown out the window at this point. I would probably say Force Awakens is my favorite of the sequel trilogy.
It's not the worst, I'll give you that.
Yeah. And Captain Phasma is that they really, again, they played her up in marketing before the movie came out, and then
she's nothing.
lame.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole sequel trilogy, it's a lot like the Phantom, or the prequels, where it's there's some cool ideas here and there, but at least Lucas kind of committed to some of his ideas. Right. Instead of going back and forth on every single idea in every single movie. That's the biggest flaw with the sequel trilogy, is there's no connection between anything.
Right.
With the almost exception of Kylo Ren until the last fucking movie. But
Right.
we're almost there. We're almost there.
So, anyway, I'm meh about Force Awakens trending anti, but I feel like meh is a safe place for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty mad as well.
Yeah.
All right.
So the movie that has been foretold to end Philip and I's friendship.
It's here. We're here. We've
Let's go.
arrived. I like The Last Jedi. Big bang boom. There we go.
I don't like Last Jedi. I don't like it. I used to dislike it more. For me, it was everything that Star Wars shouldn't be, and like it was the worst one for me for a while. And upon rewatch, after I'd put some time between those original viewings and now, I have more respect for it as a piece of art, and I
That's fair.
have more respect for it as just a person who kind of just wants to live life to enjoy it. And if something just wants to go its own way, I'll flow with the wind, kitten.
Man, Albuquerque changed you, man. The desert's grinded at the sand.
Yeah.
It was coarse, and it got everywhere.
Oh no. It really
into your soul.
It really do get everywhere, I will say.
So, because we have battled it tooth and nail over this movie before.
No.
There are flaws in that film. Do not get me wrong. There are things where I'm like, dude, that was the biggest one for me. Poe is garbage in that film.
The absolute
Poe is
worst.
unredeemable. He is. That whole little plot line is garbage.
Right.
You don't get to stage a mutiny, and then the person you mutinied against just go, I like him. He's a troublemaker. It's like, fuck you. He should be executed.
Right.
He was an asshole.
Agreed. I really could not stand Admiral Holdo or Hodo, whatever her name
think it's
was, which is terrible because I love her actress. I think she's incredible. But I just that character grated on me so badly.
I didn't hate her, but she's not great either. She's just kind of there for me. Where it's you didn't have to tell people your plan, but it's also you could have helped maybe even just telling them don't worry, I've got a plan. Please trust me. She didn't even have that conversation.
That is one of my major two. For me, there are two fundamental flaws with this movie. One of them being that every single problem, every single one in the entire movie could have been avoided if everyone wasn't just waving their dicks around. like literally the entire movie is just everyone just in a dick waving competition and seeing who can tear everyone down in their race to the top the fastest, which never feels necessary, never feels motivated by anything.
I don't see that as much with I can see where you're coming from, but I think there is motivation for the Luke Rey plotline for that.
Yes, I agree. I will forgive the Luke Rey plotline for that, because there are still some times when both of them are annoying, particularly Luke. But
I love Luke in this movie, and I know that's controversial. We'll dive in more. Well, I'm ready for it.
But I agree. I can forgive it. And for me, that is the high point of the movie, right? The Luke and Rey plotline is just really it's good stuff.
I will say, for me, basically, and the movie's broken up into thirds, basically, with the Luke Rey plotline, the Finn, what's her name?
Rose.
Rose, the Finn Rose plotline, and the Poe plotline. The Poe plotline is garbage.
Yes.
Just terrible, terrible stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't hate the Finn Rose plotline like everyone else does.
I hate the Finn Rose.
It's just kind of there for me. It's like, it's fine. It just
No.
doesn't... It's not that bad. Especially compared to fucking Poe.
Well, see, the reason why Poe is so bad for me is just because it's so obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like I think they're both just not good.
The only... Where Rose and Finn stuff lost me, I honestly was fine with Casino Planet. I didn't get the hate. We had other weird explorations of planets in other movies.
Well,
that's fine.
See, I would have been fine with it if I felt like it would have ever been relevant. Like,
I mean,
it,
there wasn't really any reason for them to stay in the casino or in the cantina in A New Hope for as long as they did. They could have just rushed out of there after a plot point, but they explored the world.
It felt like it. Yeah, exactly. It felt like it served the setting, whereas it literally felt like if we were doing like the good, the bad, and the ugly, and Clint Eastwood just decides to like spend a few months in the Bahamas and then come back for the rest of the movie.
I mean, they were actually trying to do something though, and I kind of liked almost like just the contrarian in me, the person who does like his subversion. I kind of liked that they were trying to do all this stuff, but it got thrown in their face. It was used against them. That's fun. I like that.
That for me, that kind of leads into the second fatal flaw for this movie, which is how disparate the different plot lines were. And it's fine to have disparate plot lines in a film, especially one, where you have an overarch, when it's one in a series. But this movie was literally, it was like two different movies spliced into each other that really never came together. Like, all the characters ended up in the same place at the end, but the plot lines never did.
I can agree with that in that I think because, like, I love the Luke Rey plot line. That just stays untouched in my mind.
Okay, yeah.
They should have... Splitting Poe and Finn up was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
They should have kept them... Because, like, in Empire Strikes Back, Luke goes off on his own to train. And, like, that's... You already have your subversion with Luke not wanting to train Rey. Like, you have your subversion already with that plot line.
Right.
But in the Han Leia plotline, yes, there's romance. Honestly, I think Poe and Finn should have been romantic, but Disney's full of cowards. But even without that, just have them be fucking bros. Just have them bro around the galaxy trying to solve problems.
If I could have gotten a Finn Poe buddy movie, I would, like, obviously with Rey still doing her stuff, and like, I mean, I find Rey to be very interesting and a really strong, choice for the protagonist of the sequel series. But like, if we could have had a plotline that was just Finn and Poe having a buddy movie, that I would have loved that.
Yeah, and like, you can still have him deal with all this shit. Like, honestly, just cut Poe being an asshole doing a mutiny, have him go with Finn, and you can even have the Finn and Rose romance if you want. That's fine. I don't care. Just have them all go together. Have them go on a trip.
I would have been fine with the Finn and Rose romance if it had happened in The Last Skywalker and wasn't just like, hey, we just met each other, but I'm gonna go crash my plane.
Yeah, that was bad. I was gonna say that is where the Finn Rose stuff lost me. Is that, oh yeah, I don't want you to kill yourself, so I'm gonna do something that might kill us both. Even though your plan might save everyone, mine might kill us both and save no one.
I'm glad Finn survived, but also, it would, like, it would have been better for both the character and the movie to have, made the sacrifice to bring down the Empire. Like,
Yeah, would have been more powerful.
yeah,
And they weren't gonna do shit with Finn in the next movie anyway, so
right. I a lot of the stuff with the Force was I was able to be more content with the Luke stuff, like particularly the Luke projection stuff at the end, as I was able to sit with it for longer. You know, when it first came out, I really did not like the idea. Oh, Luke is, you know, projecting his consciousness by trillions of miles away.
I think it's cool. It's the power of the Force, the spirituality of it.
I can buy it, and you know, sure.
I will say they should have, and I'm going to blame this more on Rise of Skywalker than Last Jedi. If they were going to do it to where, like, his projecting, quote-unquote, killed him, they should have done that more as of him just embracing the Force and fully, like, embracing its power and, like, actually being useful in the last movie instead of just showing up once and being like, "Ha, what's up, I'm Luke."
Right.
Like... Like I put that more on Rise of Skywalker than Last Jedi, personally.
And then now I'm like, whatever. Another thing that bothered me at the time, though, was Leia force flying after being being unconscious in the ether, and then force flying back and still being unconscious.
I think that her using the Force as like a self-survival mechanism, like we didn't know how much she trained, like I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I will say that was a bad shot, like cinematography wise.
Yeah.
Mary Poppins Leia was silly looking.
Right.
Like I'm fine with the concept. People saying she shouldn't use the Force, I don't know. It makes sense she would use the Force.
I agree that it's fine, that it works, and I can easily explain it away. It is weird, and I feel like there was probably a less weird way to do it.
I think honestly a lot of people's aversions to it would have been at least slightly alleviated if it didn't just look so damn silly.
I will agree with that. Yes.
It's silly. That was not a good shot. I love you, Rian Johnson. I really do. You make good stuff.
I don't.
That was a bad shot. Knives Out is great.
I like Knives Out.
Knives Out is phenomenal.
It's good.
Knives Out, Looper, his episodes of Breaking Bad. Rian Johnson is phenomenal, and I will stand by that man.
Okay.
But yeah, I like Jaded Luke.
Direct more Star Wars movies.
Oh, I'm gonna make a great Star Wars trilogy, man. It's gonna be fucking amazing.
Well, that's fine. As long as it's not.
I'm gonna work with Rian Johnson. We're gonna work together.
Yeah. Okay.
Rian Johnson did better than JJ. I'm gonna say
it. Ryan took more risks, and you know there were certain risks that I don't think should have been taken. But I will say that it at least felt fresher than Force Awakens. I still put Last Jedi. I don't know where I could rank Last Jedi now, because my feelings about it are just so conflicted. I feel like Last Jedi used to be at the very bottom. Now I think it's not even in my rankings. It's just
it's its own thing.
Yeah.
And like that's good. Like Star Wars is about taking risks, and yeah, sometimes they don't work. And but at least it took risks, and that's
sure.
I like Jaded Luke. I like what they did with the Force. I really like that they pulled in the spirituality aspect of it again, of like, yes, anyone can be a Jedi. Anyone can have this. That's good. I like that. I like the spiritual element of the Force, and that's the first movie in a long time, honestly, since the original trilogy, really, that really brought that back. And I love that.
I did not feel any of that.
The Broom Boy, he used the Force.
I thought for me, Broom Boy was like, oh, hey, look, there are still people out there who can use the Force that are out there, but it
it's like the whole build-up of like Yoda confronting Luke and being like, yeah, no, like the past way of doing things was not correct. Like it needs to be open to everyone. It is a new thing, a new world. Like The Last Jedi is almost an ironic title because this can be the birth of the new way of thinking about being the Jedi. And that's great. I love that.
Yeah, but also, like, I, and okay, this is super nerd Seth being like, don't fuck with the canon, but you know, kids can use the Force and can use the Force to, you know, be able to fly cool and, you know, all that. But Anakin wasn't sweeping the floor, even with his super powered midichlorians.
He moved one broom to his hand. Like, it's not like he, you know, projected himself across the galaxy. He's still a baby novice.
I don't know. I could never make the TV remote come to me whenever I tried growing up, so...
Well, I guess your midichlorian count just isn't that high, because the midichlorians are a thing. Bleh.
You're right.
I hate midichlorians.
I'm not
I hate
special.
midichlorians.
We're not special, Philip.
Anyone can be a Jedi! Anyone! I can be a Jedi! I can be Broom Boy!
Yeah, I mean... I guess I'm no, I guess I'm meh.
I'll take a meh from you, honestly.
Yeah,
that's a step up.
You know, this should have been our biggest confrontation yet, but you know, I don't. It
really let down the audience. Now Chips and Dip is our most vitriolic episode.
My hate has gone, and I am just.
You're at peace with the ways of the
I am at
Force.
peace. I am at peace.
I am pro Last Jedi, and I acknowledge it as flaws. I'm very aware of those flaws. I think overall it's still a good movie, and it's my 5th favorite Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is my top 5. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Now, Rise of Skywalker
Trash
is interesting because when I watched it in theaters, I was satisfied. It was not the movie I wanted, but you know, it hit all the buttons. It hit buttons for me, and I was like, you know what?
By bashing its face on the keyboard, yes.
That's it. That's fine. In my rewatch, you know, that first time, after just how hurt and damaged I was from Last Jedi, which again now I've made peace with, but after the effect it had on me when I first saw it.
Because, audience, you don't understand. He hated Last Jedi. That's why we built this up so much.
Right.
It's because up until, 2 months ago, he was, an asshole about it. He was all out, Last Jedi is garbage. And I'm like, I mean, I disagree. But I think it's great.
I think after that, I needed some sort of closure. And so I made Rise of Skywalker be that closure. And rewatching it, especially rewatching it and trying to have an objective opinion, I'm just it kind of just hits home that feeling of I am just sorely disappointed in the state of Star Wars. It's so much that it's a very similar thing that that happened to me with Doctor Who, in that Doctor Who was my I mean, it still is my favorite show. It was the show that I based my entire personality on, that I followed religiously. I'd seen every single episode, and recent seasons have just completely just taken away that passion, taken away that love. And that's a very similar feeling that I have with Star Wars right now. And I'm so disappointed that that's all I can say.
Yeah. Rise of Skywalker is definitely... I kind of had just... When they gave it back to JJ, I'm like, are they going to retcon it? And the fact that they retconned it instead of, like, even if you hated Last Jedi,
well,
sure.
It wasn't...
I think that, like... Well, no, like, I'm saying, like, the
even...
fact that they didn't continue...
Right.
Instead of doing damage control, they just retconned.
Agreed. And not just that they it's not just they retconned. I mean, it was the fact that, like, they took what happened in Last Jedi as a starting point and just completely inverted on itself. Just completely I agree. Instead of doing damage control, it was like, we're going to just come up with every crazy idea we can think of and throw it in there.
Yep, because, like, even if you do just genuinely think Last Jedi is a bad movie, I disagree, but sure, fine, fair enough, we'll go with that. You don't fix that by just completely throwing it out the window and doing the exact opposite. Like,
now,
you have to work with those points and, like, grow from that.
Bringing back Palpatine was a bad decision.
Oh, yeah.
Did it work well? Absolutely not. But all while I was watching Rise of Skywalker, I kept on thinking about how, like, and look, this is my narcissism speaking here, but I'm like, there was a way where you could have done this, and it still wouldn't have been a good decision, but it could have been done so much better than it was.
Like, well, the problem is they decided to do that at the last minute. If it had been planned from Force Awakens, I still wouldn't have liked it because I think it negates Vader's sacrifice. Agreed. But you could have at least given hints about it and, like, shown little inner workings and shown, like... Because, I mean, say what you will about Palpatine in the prequels, he was a conniving little asshole.
Oh,
He was one of the best parts about the prequels.
Palpatine in the prequels.
Agreed. And, like, you could have shown, like, the strings a little bit of, like, these are all, like, show that Snoke was a puppet for something more grand and not just a random clone in a tube.
Right.
Like, show that, like, there was... Like, you can have a bigger, badder villain after Snoke. I didn't mind that it killed Snoke in Last Jedi, but, like, a lot of people did. Sure, you want a big bad, that's fine.
Right.
You could have shown the strings, the intricacies.
And for a trilogy where it seems like the major message is that, anybody can be a hero, the sequel trilogy really plays in heavily to this concept of, like, the great men of history. There were a few select characters that completely controlled what happened in to the entire universe. And I would say even in the prequels, like, it feels like there are greater societal shifts that our protagonists play a large role in, but it feels so much larger in scope as to what happens in the sequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because that's the thing, they tried to make, this the big giant battle with Palpatine, which you already had.
Right.
A, but B, like, and I will say, visually, that sequence is pretty.
Yeah.
I like the all the Sith, even though they don't expand on the Sith at all, which is wasted because I love the Sith and all the extended universe stuff.
Right.
But, like, it's cool. It looks cool. But, like, you think about the implications on the lore, and it's like, where the fuck did these dudes come from? Like, what the fuck? I am all the Sith nonsense. What the fuck you? What is this?
Well, and if they... I also just keep on thinking about how, like, if they were able to make it, like, a mystery or like a slow burn of Rey, finding out about these experiments that Palpatine was doing, and then like how there was this child that was being seized by these people that were running from Palpatine. If there was a slow burn like that, it would have been so much more effective than one of the most stupid lines in Star Wars history. You're a Palpatine.
The only line I think is worse than that is, somehow Palpatine returned, with no explanation. That is the worst line in Star Wars. Your line is also very bad, but somehow Palpatine returned. Someone got paid for that. I'm sorry. I know writing's a hard job. It's a lot harder than a lot of people think.
Right.
Me and Seth have both written things. There's a lot of stress on it, especially when you're working for a big studio, I'm sure. That said, who got paid for that line? Who got a paycheck? Who paid off their house with that line? Just come on the podcast, man. We'd love to have you.
But yeah, that's just I mean, future Star Wars movies, I'll go and watch them, but it's in many ways it's a blessing and a curse. On the one hand, like, I will never have that same investment. I will never be as excited for a Star Wars movie ever again. But it's a blessing in that I no longer need to expect this to be some grand giant thing that I'm watching. I can just show up to a Star Wars movie, sit back with no expectations, and try to have a good time.
See, I can see that perspective. I will say, with The Mandalorian and the Clone, like, I've just watched the Clone Wars show for the first time. That honestly has reignited my love for Star Wars, because I was in the same boat. Rise of Skywalker kind of just killed the whole fucking thing for me. I was like, well, I just wasted this whole trilogy was a waste. Even though I did like Last Jedi, when you completely just throw it in the trash, like, it's okay. This was just a waste of time.
Right.
Clone Wars is actually good. I know you haven't expressed a lot of interest in watching it, but it has re-engaged my love for Star Wars.
Good.
In a lot of ways, and I think it is worth checking out.
And one day maybe I will.
And because I was also very hesitant to watch it, because I had watched that shitty TV animated movie, and it's garbage. Right. And I never watched anything Clone Wars for years until a bunch of friends made me recently, and I'm glad they did. It's good, and I've been enjoying The Mandalorian. I have mixed thoughts about all the upcoming shows coming up, but
I think we should have a Mandalorian episode at some point. Just a standalone Mandalorian episode.
Maybe when season 3 is coming out.
Right, but I also, I mean, I like it. I think it's good. But I don't have the investment in that either. It's just, it's there.
I enjoy it, but as far as Rise of Skywalker goes, very anti. It is. Yeah. I think Phantom Menace is still technically worse, only because I think some of the visual stuff in Rise of Skywalker is better than Phantom Menace.
I probably put Rise of Skywalker at the bottom.
And honestly, that's reasonable.
Yeah. The only one that I would put lower is Attack of the Clones. And again, before the rewatch, Last Jedi, but now, I mean, it's those two at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, same for me except Phantom Menace and Rise of Skywalker, but Attack of the Clones is still pretty low too. Honestly, it's probably third lowest still.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Yeah, that's all the Star Wars movies. I will say, Seth, I do think you should watch Clone Wars. It's actually got a lot of stuff that honestly fixes a lot of the problems with the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian, I really enjoy. Curious to see where season 3 goes.
I will say, I am a slut for bonus and spin-off material that like is able to explain away stuff that was kind of funky in the original series. That like tastefully and like complimentary.
Clone Wars does that. I'd say.
I really, and that like really improves my viewing of that original stuff. Like there's a number of episodes of Doctor Who that like first watching I'm like, this is terrible, and then when given more context in future episodes I'm like, okay, well, now I can appreciate that.
Yeah. The only other I do want to say, I love Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic with all my heart, 1 and 2. They are now pretty old video games that honestly, they are my favorite, especially the first one, my favorite Star Wars anything, honestly, over the original trilogy. It has an amazing story. Like
that is bold.
It is, but I stand by it. It is the best Star Wars story, hands fucking down.
I would love a distant past Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, like if they get someone competent to make a Knights of the Old Republic trilogy and do it as a proper adaptation, it would do amazingly because it's just so well told. It just it's a block for a lot of people because it's both a video game and it's an older video game, so it's kind of a barrier for some people to get into.
Right.
But the story is amazing. It has one of the best plot twists I have ever seen in anything, and I love it to this day. It throws you through a loop if you're able to go in blind. Please, 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 if you're interested in video games at all, or just really want to get into deeper Star Wars Extended Universe stuff, that is the one thing I would recommend. Knights of the Old Republic 2 is also very good. It's a little more janky, but it is still quite good. But at least play Knights of the Old Republic 1, audience. I love it with all my heart.
What color is your lightsaber, Philip?
Well, I have 3 plastic ones.
Well, naturally.
Do you just mean what my lightsaber color would be?
No, like when you were a kid and you pretended to play Star Wars with your friends.
Oh, I was a Sith. It was always red.
Of course, naturally. Mine was blue.
See, blue sabers, there's just too many of them.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They're like fucking candy.
Yeah.
Like, they look pretty, but
I can buy that. I do
Purple's
love me
cool.
a purple lightsaber.
Yeah. Yep. I like Mace Windu's saber a lot.
Samuel L. Jackson, that is such a different part for him than anything else he's done. And
he does well in that role.
So good as Mace Windu.
Oh yeah, and I like how complicated Mace Windu is as a character.
Right.
He's honestly, while he's cool, he's also kind of the symbol for where the Jedi went wrong.
Yeah.
Like, with, his blatant, only a Sith deals in absolutes. Like, he is the symbol of the arrogance of the Jedi. He is the symbol of where they have become too pretentious and prideful and only interested in their own sense of justice, as opposed to the greater justice of the Force and the universe.
Right.
But anything else, Seth? We did go a little long. We were wanting to cut this episode shorter, but honestly, there was so much here.
And
I think it's okay if this one's a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying
11
to have
movies,
shorter episodes, which is unfortunate that we started with this one because this couldn't have been a shorter episode.
Yeah. Going forward, we're going to try to keep these shorter, guys. So if you've stuck it in this long, thank you. We appreciate it. We're going to try to make it we're going to try to aim for an hour and a half for future episodes. This one, we talked about 11 movies plus some extra stuff. There's a lot to cover, so thank you for bearing with us.
All in all, I mean, I still prefer Star Wars to Star Trek.
Same.
I really appreciate just the large and expansive, you know, universe that is like I mean, Star Wars. It is the epitome of the sci-fi genre, but it's a fantasy film.
Oh yeah, it's science fantasy.
Yeah, and it's
a beautiful blending
of
the genres.
That I was just about to say. I mean, it is beautiful. It is a work of art unlike anything that has come since and will come again. And I am very grateful to have it in my life, as I know millions of others share the same sentiment.
Oh yeah, I couldn't say it better. I love Star Wars with all my heart. I've always been a Star Wars guy. Will always be a Star Wars guy. I wear a Star Wars shirt almost all the fucking time. I have lots of collectible shit. Like I've always been crazy about Star Wars. And I don't, even with some of the fumbles in the road, my love for it hasn't changed.
Would you say that you are pro Star Wars?
I am definitely pro Star Wars.
I am also pro
even
Star
with
Wars.
its flaws. I love it, flaws and all, just like you, Seth. I love you, flaws and all.
Oh my gosh. And that's how I feel about you.
I mean, that's fair. That's how I feel about fucking Phantom Menace.
Damn.
There's no fucking words, except all the words I gave it.
Except you did use a lot of words.
I guess I like Phantom Menace better than you, Seth.
Damn.
So, we should figure out what we're talking about next week, because we're back to our normal schedule. The randomizer, it's back, everybody. We're going all in. Back to our roots. Random shit. Let's see what we got, Seth.
Look us up at @brute_neighbors on Twitter. We share whenever there's a new video going up, and we always love more interaction with you, the fans. So keep it up.
Yep, and we're trying to bring the channel back. I'm planning on making some stupid videos soon. Please check those out if/when I get around to making them. We're going to try and keep doing things. We definitely had a stumbling block with technology and distance in the way of us making things, but we're trying to get back on top of things.
You know that bonus content that Philip's been saying, hey, it's coming soon in the next week or so.
It's been a long week, Seth.
September, you know?
It's been a long week.
It's coming.
It's coming. I'm going to make something else other than that one Final Fantasy video will be on the channel. I promise. If you're listening on YouTube, check us out on Spotify. If you're on Spotify, check us out on YouTube.
Roll Tide.
All right, Seth, you want to know what our first topic for next week is? Is it a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Our first topic for next week is laundry.
Laundry?
Yeah! Let's fold that up.
Okay, living in Albuquerque, I got some feelings on that. Some extra feelings.
Oh, really? I'm kind of curious what those feelings are, but all right. And our topic for next week, our media topic, is Back to the Future.
Ooh. Okay.
So is that going to be just the first movie, or are we going to try and do the whole trilogy?
You know what? After this week, we should probably just do the original.
I think that's fair. We need to, if we're going to cut it shorter, we got to cut it shorter.
Right.
So just the first one. I have not seen this movie in, honestly, a few years. Like, I'm kind of excited to rewatch it, honestly.
Same. I don't know if I've seen it since 2015. When it was the 30th anniversary.
Oh, yeah. Probably around the same time. I don't think I specifically watched it for that, but I think I had rewatched it around that time. But yeah, so yeah, tune in next week for Laundry, Back to the Future, and whose turn is it for the mystery subject? I have no idea.
Well, I think our last one was Dr. Worm, so...
Oh, was that our last one? Okay, you got to bring us back strong, man.
Ooh,
give us something good.
I already got it. I'm totally not going to forget it by next week.
Write it down and lose the note like I do.
Right.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you. I know it's been a minute, but thanks for coming back to us. If you're new, thanks for coming to us in the first place. We love you. We appreciate you. Tune in next week for all that nonsense.
Have a good life, everybody.